All right, welcome back to the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. Very excited. Got a very special guest here. Our brand new, great, good friend that we've known a long time now. A full week. WCW legend, the Kiss Demon, Dale Torborg. Thanks for joining us, man. This is awesome.
This is awesome being here with you guys, man. I'll tell you, big fan of both of yours and, action figures, all that stuff. So this is a thrill for me.
That's why we knew you'd be a perfect guest, man. We were hitting it off right away, the three of us last weekend at Bound for Glory. It was awesome to I think we met in passing at a White Sox game many, many years ago with Dreamer, like a wave maybe. So it was cool to finally meet and talk and catch up and stuff. So I was like, right away, Broski and I saw you by myself and it was just me and you. Then you saw Matt by yourself, and then I see Matt and we were like, we need to get him on the podcast. He rules.
That's the thing, because there's so many guys that we know who were wrestling during your era who don't collect their stuff, don't know about their figures. So I've never met you before. How am I supposed to know that you do care about that stuff? And then I said it last week on the podcast. I'm like, oh, have you ever heard of this unreleased prototype? And I'm thinking like, oh, I'm going to show you something that you've never heard or seen of. You're like, yeah, I have it. I'm like, what? And like, you have the better version, the fully painted one. It's behind you. We can see it.
Let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes. Let's save the best for last. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah. Let's set the tone. Most fans obviously know you as the Kiss Demon. How did you get into wrestling? Obviously, a lot of people do know that you were in a baseball family. I know because I'm a diehard Mets fan. Your dad was the manager at one point. Right. So talk to us about your upbringing.
So my dad, he caught in the big leagues. First he went to Rutgers. He set the national batting average title record at .537.
Jesus.
So not too bad, obviously.
Yeah.
And then went to the Dodgers. It was before the draft. He was, I think, the last one before the draft. He got like $100,000 in 1963 to sign with the Dodgers.
Big deal, yeah.
Only played a couple months in the minor leagues, made it to the big leagues, caught Sandy Koufax's perfect game and Don Drysdale's scoreless inning streak, Bill Singer's no-hitter, and then behind me, you can't really see it, is he caught Nolan Ryan's first no-hitter. And So we were, a baseball family right from the start. I actually went to Northwestern. There it is right there. But, I always thought that I would be a pro baseball player. I ended up with the Mets. I got signed with the Mets and got hit in the face with a pitch, messed up broke my cheekbone, messed up my depth perception, all that kind of stuff. So I ended up getting traded without knowing that anything was wrong with me. I got traded to the Yankees. And I just knew something wasn't right, and so just being part with the Yankees. My dad was with the Yankees for 10 years as a coach. Mm-hmm. And so I had known George Steinbrenner since I was a little kid, and this is kind of a cool story with, if you're, a baseball fan, and George Steinbrenner is kind of the reason how I got into wrestling, because I was flying out to the Rose Bowl. My college roommate in 1995 was on the football team. So I was flying out to the Rose Bowl to see him play, and that's where I met Hulk Hogan on the plane going from Tampa to L.A. And then he introduced me to Randy Savage at the LAX baggage, baggage claim. We started talking, and he goes, Hulk said, hey, Randy, I want you to meet Dale Torborg, blah, blah, blah. He goes, Torborg, he's your dad, Jeff. And I was like, whoa. Like that, The first thing that I was like, that's his real voice.
Yeah. That's true, right? Yeah. How much did you must have towered over him too.
Yeah. So, but
you could say it.
I mean, he was jacked. I mean, I sat there, we started talking about baseball and wrestling, and they both said, have you ever thought about, wrestling at all? And I said, no, I didn't know anybody, when it's a whole different world. If you don't know anybody, it's just, that's what you see on TV. So now I see Hogan, and Hogan's my height, and I see Randy, a former baseball player, like, maybe I can do this. Like the baseball players that I played with would, joke around. You got the personality of a wrestler. You should be a wrestler. You got the size, that kind of thing. And I was like, yeah. It was fun, but not knowing anyone, how do you get into the business? And so to first talk to Hogan, when I said, hey, we have a mutual friend in George Steinbrenner. And that's how we started talking. And then, so that's really how I got in the business. I got Warlord and Jim the Anvil Neidhart in Tampa to train me. So
wow.
if I was stiff in the ring at all, you can blame them because they're the ones who taught me.
Who was that?
So,
Big man camp? They were just doing the big man?
Yeah, pretty
Jesus.
much.
That's pretty wild. I never even thought about that. You and Randy's, like, it's funny that Randy's involved in that story because you guys have such a similar path then in that sense. You know,
Yes.
baseball players transition to pro wrestlers. That's unique in itself.
Yeah, and it was funny because Randy was great, and I remember when I kind of worked myself, up through the ranks, I see Randy at one of the WCW shows, and I said, hey, I want to thank you for getting me, into the business. And he goes, "Don't blame me, kid," and then I started laughing and walked away.
He's probably right. Yeah. So as a kid, were you a wrestling fan? Like, what was your fandom as long as that goes?
I wasn't a diehard fan, but I was the Saturday morning kid that watched it every Saturday morning. I had my best friend growing up, this guy, Brian Martin. His dad was a huge wrestling fan. And so when I would, stay over at their house or something, I would watch wrestling with them. And I remember the first match I ever saw was Tony Atlas.
Oh, man.
And the crazy thing is when I had my first real match, it was a dark match. I'd only trained for 2 months with Warlord and Neidhart. The first people I see is Tony Atlas, and he's on that show. So it was it just was kind of bizarre, but it was that AWF had some great talent. If you remember, that show was, didn't last very long, but Coco Beware and Cowboy Bob Orton and the Road Warriors. It was pretty cool.
So growing up, what kind of toys were you into? I know we kind of shot the shit at Impact that you were talking about Migos and stuff like that. Is that the thing that would, like, your wheelhouse?
Oh yeah. Like this is one of my originals as a kid.
Whoa, that's from your childhood?
Yeah, this is mine.
Impressive.
And I have most of them. I'm like one of those that, my parents kind of saved everything in the attic, and I ended up getting a storage.
Lucky. Most people's stories, my mom threw it out or sold it at a garage sale, and I want to kill her.
Yeah, they didn't throw anything out, so I have most of my stuff. And huge Batman fan, the Adam West 1966. You can't see it now. I would turn it, but every time I touch the computer, it shut it off.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I have a 6 foot tall Adam West 1966 replica over there.
That's awesome. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So I have some life size mannequins, and this is my home office, and so I have some life size mannequins of things in here.
That's really
that Batman series is so iconic that even today they're still making brand new figures based on it. They just made
saw them at Target. I literally
right there.
saw them
It's
at
pretty
Target.
incredible.
It's actually Todd McFarlane that's doing the new ones.
Oh, okay.
The kind of cool thing is Todd and I have been friends for years, and I actually was one of the people that they scanned. They did the real scan stuff for the baseball figures movements. So I would, stand there, and that would go down, and I would, be hitting, hands here, hands here, hands here, fielding, throwing. So they actually scanned me for a lot of those baseball figures from, years past.
All the McFarlane sports picks, the baseball ones. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Those
wow,
are
that's
like,
crazy.
I mean, it's sad that line kind of like wrapped up because they were pretty awesome figures. I have a lot of Mets.
They do some amazing stuff.
Totally, yeah.
Todd's group. I remember seeing the KISS prototypes, in the office when they were doing it.
The McFarlane Kiss stuff's incredible. Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's actually pretty cool because, Todd's, where he used to have his office, and it was like a little museum. He had the real Spawn costume in there, and had some cool. He actually had Madonna's costume from A League of Their Own that he bought for like $5,000 at an auction. So he had all this. He had some really cool stuff in there.
God, it's got to be worth a lot more than that now.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Okay, let's pivot back to pro wrestling. You become a power plant guy. How does that happen? And let's get into this MVP talk.
All right. So, I ended up, because of the AWF match, I was doing the MVP character at the time. And J.J. Dillon actually saw that match. And because I had gone to St. Pete for the Monday Nitro show in St. Pete, we started talking, and he said, "How long you been working?" I said, "Really, at that time of the match, 2 months." And I was only training 2 or 3 times a week for 2 months. And he's like, "Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that." And I said, "Yeah, I'm going over to India. I'm going to wrestle over there. We have a tour for 3 weeks." He said, "Well, when you get back, let me know." And so when I got back, he said, "Hey, we're in Palmetto. Come down to the show." So I went down, and he said, "Listen, we want we want to bring you in as into the power plant, train you our way, do all this, and then, bring you up for TV. And, everything they talk about with the power plant is true. It was 100% legit.
I was just about to ask, was it as brutal as everybody makes it seem?
Yes. Everybody that's gone through it. You know what it did do, though? It created a fraternity of brothers.
Sure.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
we went through
the trenches, man.
Oh, it was brutal. I mean, all the squats and push-ups, and they had people where Sarge would yell at them, "Lay on the ground, get on your back. You're a dying cockroach. Say it." It was brutal. It was brutal.
Was there ever at any time in your baseball career that the training mirrored that or came close at all to the professional wrestling training at the power plant?
Not one bit.
That's crazy.
What a simple answer.
Yeah.
Baseball is such a skill sport. The hardest thing you can do, I think, in any sport is to hit a round ball with a round bat and hit it square. It just doesn't make any sense.
Totally.
So that's the toughest skill. And having to do that, the spring training was brutal, but nothing prepared me for the power plant. Nothing. Yeah. Even training with Warlord and Neidhart, the first day I was with Neidhart, he gave me, I didn't know what I was doing. He gave me 30 shoulder tackles in a row. 30 in a row. And they didn't, when they slammed me, they didnn't tell me how to do anything. And my hips were killing me. And, they beat me up pretty good those first couple of days and still didn't prepare me for the power.
I would say that's probably just to see if you come back the next day kind of thing.
It was. They did it for 3 days. 3 days straight, they beat me up. And then finally they said, okay, if you're coming back, we're not going to run you off. And I said, nope, not going to run me off.
For those that don't know, can you explain the MVP character? Because I'm sure a lot of people, modern day wrestling fans listening to think we're talking about Montel Vontavious Porter, but we're absolutely not. So lay the groundwork for that for people
and also what year are we? Is this 97? What's the exact year that we're talking right now with the power plant and everything?
97 was the power plant.
Okay, yeah.
96 is when I started training. I think it was the 4th of July or the 3rd of July, and 96 is when I'm training with Neidhart in his backyard, in Florida outside. It was brutal. There was scorpions on the mat and snakes going actually under the ring. So I'm
going to ask Natty about this next time I talk to her.
It was just a crazy experience. But the MVP character actually meant the most violent player. That's what MVP stood for. So Warlord, when we were first kind of, thinking about gimmicks, he's like, you know what? You look like a baseball player. You were a baseball player. You move like one. Why don't you think about doing some sort of baseball character? Okay. And then I said, well, what are you thinking? And he goes, you ever seen the movie The Warriors? And I said, yeah. He goes, the Baseball Fury. And I said, well, I kind of like that, but I said, I need to do it my own way. So what the idea of MVP was, with the Yankees, there were a lot of rules. Had to have your top button buttoned, no jewelry. I think you could
aren't these all still the rules?
Probably.
The clean shaven thing is still, because they just got Odor this year, and he had this epic beard, and then he's on the field looking like Broski right now. People went nuts, like, whoa, yeah.
Yeah, so you had to blouse your pants. You had to show a certain amount of blue on your socks in 6 inches, and there was a whole bunch of rules. So the idea was for the MVP to break every rule, and that I was too violent for baseball, got kicked out of baseball was kind of the backstory. But if you looked at the face paint, it was, Gene Simmons-esque, because I was such a huge Kiss fan growing up. I'm like, I want to do something that has the essence of it, but in a baseball uniform, and that's what it was.
Okay. So do you want to go, Broski?
I was gonna say, obviously, WCW, at least Toy Biz, has these giant plans for the MVP character, but then it doesn't happen. So what happened? Because we were talking, you told me there was only 2 or 3 WCW matches.
Yeah. So a couple things. Then I did my tryout match as the MVP. Somebody came running down and said, get rid of the bat, get rid of the bat. Because I guess they were going to start doing that with Sting.
Got it.
And because when they saw the picture, and one of the first people I met with WCW backstage was Medusa, and she was trying to, introduce me to Sonny Ono and different people to get me, kind of moving forward and meeting the right people with WCW. But I had a promo picture of me as the MVP holding the bat with the white and the black and white makeup and everything. And I do remember sitting on TV, watching WCW Monday Nitro, and I see Sting with the face paint and the bat, and I went, oh no. Oh no. And basically it was like WCW said, just go to the power plant. When we're ready for you, we'll use you. So I thought that character was done. I thought it was dead, because I'm like, this is too similar now. They just want me to go and shut up, and, we're using this and you're done. But then somebody I don't remember how it got started again. They said, can you change the colors up? I said, yeah, I can do whatever we want to do with it and match. Like if I'm a baby face, if I'm, wherever, in Atlanta, use the Braves colors, and use their uniforms, just not with the logos, and take that off and put the MVP logo. And so that's what we started thinking about doing. And there was a lady there that used to work with one of the toy companies and was kind of a liaison between WCW and Toy Biz, that saw it and went, oh my God, this is incredible. This is I love this. Can I take this and show Toy Biz? And I said, absolutely. So they loved it. And so they started working on the figure before I ever did anything on TV.
God, okay.
Now,
that makes a lot more sense.
It's so wild to me, because that we call that term in the business toyetic, so like if a kid is walking out of toy,
I was thinking,
right, that's right.
Could have been your name.
Especially with the demon stuff later on. But if a kid's walking down that toy aisle and they see this violent baseball player all jacked up, like that's a cool looking action figure,
with accessories,
right,
totally.
And that's the difference with this, and that what you were telling me about. This has the shin guards that come off. It has shin guards, and it has an actual little red bat that they did. All my markings, everything are actually in there. So they had everything right, except for some reason they made the shin guards blue, and I'm wearing a black and red outfit. But it's really cool. I ended up getting that, came in a Tupperware. They asked when I stopped doing the character. I only did 2 appearances.
That's so wild to me.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think. The first one was against the Maestro, and then the second one was Horace Hogan. And then after that match, I was saying before the Horace Hogan match, they said, you're going to do the job tonight if you still want to do the demon character. And I said, being a Kiss fan, who wouldn't? You know what I mean? I'm I'm a diehard Kiss fan. Of course I wanted to do the demon character. And so we stopped it right there. Horace beat me, and that was it.
So did that particular lady from Toy Biz hook you up with that prototype that you're referencing in your office?
Yeah, she said that we have, they have it. Since we're not doing it, do you want it? And I'm absolutely, because they had sent me pictures of it, and I actually put the picture on the wall in my apartment in Atlanta.
I would have too.
Yeah,
living underneath James Vandenberg.
That must have been interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. So, but yeah, I remember putting that picture up, like, oh my gosh, I have my own action figure. I thought that was the coolest thing. And then she said, I can have it sent to you. And it showed up in bubble wrap in just a Tupperware container. Open it up, and it was in pieces, because it's one of those that comes apart. It's that
it's nice.
Those are called
stage yet.
Yeah, that's a 2-up, and then they scale it down afterwards.
Okay.
They don't do that anymore, because I was so back in the day where now everything's on the computer. They don't have to make these 2-ups anymore.
Call for that anymore. What's really crazy about this story that has my wheel spinning is that forever in pro wrestling action figures, it's like the push happens and then you get the merchandise.
Right.
Like, you were like merchandise, no push yet. Like that's pretty unique. Like that never happens, really.
It was really cool. I don't know if I mentioned it to you that they were thinking the lady that did this knew David Lee Roth, and David Lee Roth supposedly wanted to get into wrestling and said, would you want David Lee Roth as your manager? And I'm like, yeah, huge Van Halen fan, of course. I thought, him doing those kicks and everything, I thought would be great, so, but it never happened. So that got shelved, and David Lee Roth got shelved.
Yeah. So about like a year ago, somebody who I deal with, because I'm like, I deal with all underground prototypes and stuff like that. So people come to me with stuff all the time, and they showed me the unpainted version of that. And I showed Brian. We're like, what is this? They were saying it's MVP. I'm like, he only had like 2 matches. How is that possible? So then when we met, I'm like, have you ever seen this? You're like, oh, I have the painted one in my office. I was like, wow. It's unbelievable.
And Broski, is the one that you saw even a 2-up like
it's
that?
a 2-up. Yeah, it's an unpainted 2-up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your face was priceless when I said I have it.
Yeah, because
how do you have it? Yeah, I have it in my office.
That's just so wild to me because I have to because I'm looking now. I'm like, what series, Brian, do you think that would have been in? Like the first or second? Because
early on.
Because look at just the way it's all like molded. It looks like a Smash and Slam style.
Of course, yeah. Or the series with Brett and Booker, like the Ringmasters. That's what it looks like to me. It's fun. Now, you know what, Dale? What we've discovered now is there's 2 in the world with 2 separate owners, and both guys will not sell it to Broski, so there's a problem.
But you got to wonder if it ever made it to that 6-inch prototype.
That's another thing, yeah. So like she gave you that obviously as a gift, but in the process of the toy making, there could be more of those. There could be the scaled down version. Like how far along did it go? I mean,
but also
she definitely gave you the coolest version.
And I was about to say, it's a good thing she gave it to you because those things usually get thrown out. They're not meant to be, in someone's collection, or they don't think a bunch of nerds are going to be selling them for thousands of dollars in 20 years. So those things are meant to be destroyed because they're really just, it's essentially now like a computer graphic. You don't keep the, what I'm saying? But you had to physically make it back in the day. So it's great that not only did it survive, that you have it.
Yeah, it's almost. It's in really good shape. It's got some chips on it from when they shipped it. Mm-hmm. But it's still really cool. But they never did, the Demon one, because apparently there was some dispute between the KISS license and Toy Biz, and so it never got. There was WCW, I think, was afraid to do merch for me because of the contract. They just really kind of shied away. They flew me to Vancouver to do the video game. Literally flew me from Florida to Vancouver to the video game shoot, took all the pictures, did everything. And then they said, we can't use you because of the contract. And they were wrong because it was something that they only, I don't remember exactly, but something happened that if I was more than, or 50% or more of whatever the entire entity was, that more money went to KISS.
Oh yeah.
But if I was less than 50% of the whole, then it was just a normal deal. But so I don't know. So that's
it would be
why
like
that's
astronomical
why
to make merchant of you, basically, because KISS is going to get their cut.
Yeah, it was, and like I said, WCW people were afraid, and the cool thing is I went to Gene and I said, listen, part of the reason why this character is not getting the push is because they can't make merch off of it. And he said, have them call me. I'll change the deal to make sure it's going to work for you. They never did. WCW never did.
WCW was being ass backwards. I can't believe this.
Yeah. Well, we had Gene agreed to do a pay-per-view with us that I just told Sting about this. He had no idea that New Blood Rising, Gene agreed to do it with us and they never called him.
Wow.
So can we back up? I'm not sure if you guys talked about it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, we got to backtrack into.
In doing my research today, and I think we might have talked about this briefly last weekend, but Brian Adams was supposed to be the KISS Demon, which I vaguely remember or might have just completely forgotten.
I thought he debuted.
Tell us all about it. Tell us the whole story.
So I did. I blew out my knee on Monday Nitro in the United Center. And I think around in October or something like that, I blew my knee out, dislocated it when I was doing the pit crew gimmick. And I wasn't even supposed to do the pit crew gimmick that night. They're like, do you have anything else to wear? And Terry Taylor, and I said, no, this is what you told me to bring. And so I had a match. I did a move I never did before. They wanted me to try something. I blew my knee out and I was done. So I was 6 months of, just dealing with the knee surgery, dislocated knee, torn ACL, all that kind of stuff, torn meniscus. And when the day I came back, literally the day that I came back, I went to the power plant and I was just jumping around just to kind of see how it feels, in the ring. And in the old power plant was like a carpet warehouse. It used to be, and it was just terrible. It was just awful. The old power plant, if you ever saw the videos of it, it was nasty. Yeah. But when the phone rang, you could hear it all the way through because it would ring through the loudspeakers. And then Jody Hamilton could hit a button and say, so-and-so, can you come to the front? So that day, the phone rings, and I hear, Dale, can you come to the front? I'm like,
Dale, can you come to the front, please? Power play.
Yeah. I'm clear.
We spent some time with Jody. We know him quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm like, I thought I was going to be released, and he goes, that was Bischoff. He wants you to come down to the office. And I'm like going, all right, I'm still going to get released.
Yeah. In person.
So I go to the office, and Eric says, I hear you're a big Kiss fan. I said, yeah, I've been a Kiss fan since the age of 5, man. I said, I'm a huge Kiss fan. Well, do you want to do this character? And I said, absolutely. He's like, well, you need to do a tryout for it. I said, okay, it's awesome. When? So this was on a Friday. And he goes, at the pay-per-view on Sunday. Okay. And he goes, I hear you just got released from your knee recently. And I said, yeah, an hour ago.
Yeah.
Goes, an hour ago. I said, yeah. And he goes, well, do you want it or not? I go, yes. Yeah, I do. And he goes, well, you need to do a match on Sunday. Is there anybody that you'd want to work? And I said, yeah, Johnny Swinger, if I can. And he goes, well, call him, see if he can do it. And as I'm leaving, he goes, if you want this, you better show me something special. I'm like, no pressure. All right.
Yep.
All right. So Swinger, I called Swinger. He came straight down. We didn't even do anything in the ring besides talk it out, and then went to do it at the pay-per-view. And I remember one of the things is not knowing if my knee was going to hold up. And I said to Swinger, I said, why don't we do something? Let's lock up, push off. Let me drop kick you right from the start. I think if it's going to go and blow out, it's going to blow out on a drop kick. Let's not waste any time.
Get it over with.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just, all right, I'm done. Let's
What a philosophy.
Pull him out of the ring. He's finished. Let's go. So I think we did 10 minutes, dark match. And, when I was coming out, I wasn't wearing any of the face paint. And as I'm going through the curtain, Bischoff pulls me back by my arm and he goes, hey, I want you to do Gene without doing Gene, and pushes me out. I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
My head was spinning like, do Gene without doing Gene. What does that mean? And so I literally went, you know what? I can't worry about it. I got to do what I think I should do. Cause I guess they didn't want to tip off they were doing the character.
Gotcha.
So I just tried to do the mannerisms and, just a little bit, not doing the tongue, anything. But Johnny and I had a great match. And I go back through the curtain and Bischoff's there. And I said, how was that? And he goes, straight faced. You got another job you can go to? I guess I need to. No. You got it.
Yeah.
I get the gimmick. I'm like thrilled, call my parents, call everyone. Like, I got it, dream come true.
Big life-changing opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, to represent the greatest band in the world, the band that Gene Simmons, who I idolized, at Northwestern, I did a speech about the 3 people I idolized most: my dad, Gene Simmons, and Don Mattingly. So I did it. That was such a thrill to do this. And then Bischoff says, I want you to come to the office this week. Janie will talk to you, and we'll sign everything and get it done. Great. Thrilled. The week goes by, and it now is Friday, and it's the grand opening of the Nitro Grill in Vegas. And they have me and Glacier going out for this thing. And I see Bischoff out there, and I hadn't heard anything yet. And so I said, Eric, you still want me to come in and go over all this? And he looks up at me and he goes, no. That was it. I had it. Something happened, and I didn't. I found out later what had happened. So Brian got the gig. And apparently when I did a test makeup, Brian did a test makeup, and actually Chris Canyon did one.
Oh,
so
wow.
a lot of people don't know that Canyon actually did. The 3 of us wore the exact same thing, and Andre Freitas out of Atlanta, Special Effects, AFX, he did, all of our makeup, did it identical, and they showed Gene, all 3, and he points to me. And this is what Andre told me. He points to me and says, this is the guy that looks just like me. That's him. And so, all right, he's the one we picked too. He did the match. Gene goes, but wait a minute. which one's the biggest? And they said, Brian Adams. Brian was 300 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
And such a nice guy. I don't know if you knew Brian, but
never got to meet the Kona Crush. I wish.
Oh, one of the nicest people, man. So what Gene wanted, he had started doing research and he was watching the WWE and saw Kane. So he pictured the Demon being like a Kane character,
right.
Just a monster,
Makes sense. Yeah.
So it made sense that Brian got it, a 300 pounder versus a 260 pound guy, he was a monster, and so that's what happened. So Brian got the Demon character originally, and I actually tried to help him. I went out to Vegas to help him with the mannerisms and do all that because he was such a great guy. If I couldn't get it, I'm glad he did. I'm glad that it was a guy like that. So I went out and helped him as much as I could. And right from the get-go, you could tell he was not so sure that he made the right decision. Mm-hmm. And he did the one in Vegas where he came out with Kiss, and he did one in Nassau Coliseum where he did something with Vampiro where he said something, not now, not here, but soon. And that was it. And he never wrestled in the gimmick. And he called me and said, Dale, he goes, WCW is going to be calling you because I told him this is not for me. I made a mistake. You should have gotten it from the start. You know what you're doing. It's you. And so that's how WCW, JJ Dillon actually called me and said, Brian's out. Do you want it? And I said, absolutely. I'm in. And that's how it happened.
Wild story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did my other due diligence today. I found a Demon trading card that was like a pullout from the sheet of 9 in like a UK WCW magazine, I think.
Yeah.
And that might be it for merchandise.
I had one somewhere. It was in the it was a tear out one that yes. Yeah.
So your story,
I have it somewhere.
The story makes perfect sense. No merchandise, even though it was year and a half? How long were you the Demon?
99, 2000, and 2001.
Yeah, so there you go. Wow.
Yep, no, but that's the funny thing of, Figures Toys coming back years later and doing it, and they did an amazing job as,
I got it right here. There it is.
There she is. Yeah.
There it is.
I told Dale last week that's the only FTC figure we've ever truly put over on this show.
And that's before we even met you.
Before we met you, of course. We did an unboxing. I said, man, the quality and effort put into this compared to the others is something else.
Just the combination of the soft goods and the hard shoulder pads, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about it is that I was able to, approve things as we went. And I actually talked to them about the shoulder pads, about how we could do it. And so Figures Toys, did the Kiss line. They did the full.
Yours also makes the most sense. It's like a natural connection there, right?
Well, there's a weird connection. So there is actually a strange connection that started this. For the White Sox, being with them for 18 years, I would do different things, and I would do the wrestling belts. I would make the hardest working players. Here you go. This is the hardest working player gets a belt. And bringing the wrestling world in, to baseball.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's funny is, I'm going to take credit for it, and you probably have a lot of fans going, he's a liar. But when I did the stuff for TNA originally with AJ Przinsky.
In 05, Sanjay Dutt.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we ended up, I asked them for one of the title belts. And what we wanted to do was give it to the player of the game. So they got us a belt. I think Scott D'Amore actually was the one who got us the belt. And we ended up doing this whole thing where we, pitched it, and we did a pre-tape, I think, with talking about we're going to do this as the player of the game, which we did. So the belts, we were the first ones to start doing the belts in baseball completely. And then, it started to take over. And then Figures Toys, I didn't know I was doing it. Through a friend of mine, I was ordering these belts, and he would send them to me, and I would paint over them. You probably can't see it. I don't really want to. Can you kind of see in the corner If I do that, I'm afraid.
I see the
So it looks like $1 million
championship.
belt. Yeah.
I see the White Sox logo on it, though. I could see it.
Oh, okay,
yes.
yeah.
I would repaint the belts and put the White Sox logo on it. And so that's how it started. So then I went to Figures Toy Company when I found out they were the ones that were supplying these. And I said, is there any way that we can do something that is a little different, where I can design a belt that's empty in the middle that I can put magnets on? I can have a magnet made and you can take them off, take them off, put them on, change them up. And that way I can have custom ones for the players. So if Winston-Salem or Charlotte or Kannapolis, wherever they were, it would have their logo on it.
Cool.
And so that's what we did. We created a belt. That belt ended up taking off in a whole different direction because so many people wanted them for their fantasy leagues.
Oh, right. It's a big business, yeah.
Yeah, so the belts took off, and I saw on Shark Tank one time that someone was doing that after we did it. So it's like all these things that I did, had no idea they would take off, and of course I didn't get any money for any of them.
It's $1 million idea, yeah.
Yeah.
I also, since we've met, I made this mashup. I took like a modern day Mattel.
Oh man, that's
and the
awesome.
parts from the FTC. So I put that with my Impact Wrestling collection.
Oh,
I love
commemorate your Bound for Glory appearance. So
that's awesome. That really is cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So how did it back to FTC? So how'd the deal get made? Like, did they come to you, or you went to them and said, "Hey, can you make this figure?" Or did they have to go through KISS? How did that work out?
So after meeting these guys, right? We were talking. I went over to Tampa to meet with them, and we were sitting at the table talking about the belts and all that. And I also knew that they were planning on doing the 12-inch Mego style figures for KISS and redoing them. So I said, you should do different eras. And we started talking. They had their ideas. I came up with a bunch of ideas. And I told them that they should get this guy, Danny, the Pharaoh. I don't know if you've ever heard of Danny. He actually is a guitar player for a band called Angel that was big in the 70s.
Okay.
But Danny ended up sculpting. I saw online that he did KISS figures, and when you saw a picture of the head, it was hard to tell if it was a picture of the real guys, or if it was an action figure.
Yeah.
So I said, you got to get this guy. If you're going to sculpt these, you got to get this guy. So they ended up getting him, and Danny's the one that sculpted my head.
Oh wow!
So
do you think he does all the heads now?
He does. I think almost all the heads. Yeah,
because then he must have done mine a while ago when I got my FTC. Wow.
Yeah, he does it all off of pictures. I mean, literally hand does.
Oh yeah, I sent them just front. The four sides of my head basically.
Yeah,
and I always thought it was pretty impressive.
He's amazing. So I ended up being the consultant on a lot of the figures. Like Figures Toy Company has a great artist, this guy Tanner. Mm-hmm. And Anthony, who owns the company,
yes,
we would all kind of talk and say, they would send me something. Here's what the factory sent. I'm like, nope, the makeup's wrong. Like Gene's makeup is backwards, or they had Ace's costume was, something was wrong. I'm like, no, it goes here, it doesn't go there.
Wow.
So I ended up kind of just being a consultant when something would come through. How does this look? So that's how it all started. And then we started talking about my figure and all that. And I said, that should be probably part of the contract, some sort of license. So KISS is with Epic Rights.
I saw when I opened that, it's very small in the packaging. I was looking for it. It says Epic Rights, copyright Epic Rights. I was like, oh, okay, there it is.
The funny thing is I'll do these signings and people will go, oh, KISS is going to come after you. And I go, for what?
Yeah.
Because, you're the licensing. I'm like, it's a licensed character. It's Gene's idea. It's his figure. If I'm going to do something, I have to get permission for it. If somebody makes something, they have to go through Epic Rights to get it done. So Figures Toys went through and put in a request for it. They got the license. And, once they got the license, Danny and I started working on, Danny wanted a bunch of pictures of me from without the makeup from back in 2000, 2001. So it was with and without. So he did everything. He wanted it to be perfect of me without the makeup first, so that when you put it on, it would be identical. Awesome. Yeah. So he did that. And then I worked with Tanner and Anthony on the outfits and said, yeah, that's perfect. You're missing this on the boots. And, and they would send me a once it was fixed, they would do it. And there's another one coming out next year. There's a
baby.
variant. Yeah, a variant of that. So
what's different? What makes it the variant? What's on it?
Different colors, because it was a flip flop of I had a cape that was with the silver with the red outline instead of the red with the silver outline, and then the pants were the same. Flip flop the colors, and they took the blonde streaks out of my hair because I only had that for I think the first. The reason there's a reason people. Okay. Couple quick things.
We love this. This is the important stuff. We need this
because Kiss fans have, just buried me on this. Why would you have blonde in your hair? No Kiss member had blonde in their hair.
Because you're not Gene, you're the demon, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, well, you're wrong there. In about 76, around the Destroyer era, Paul Stanley did a blonde streak in his hair, and I always thought it was kind of cool and it was a very short thing. And then the Kiss fans go, you don't even know how to do Gene's makeup because I pull it down on the sides. That was a mistake in the very beginning because the first time that I had, like I said, Andre did the makeup and it was a little lower on the sides. Gene said, I like that. He said, keep that. He goes, I don't want you to be a clone of me. I want you to do this. The essence of the demon character, but I don't want an exact clone. That's why the costume wasn't the same. That's why we had red in the costume because they didn't until Gene did later on during the Dynasty, Unmasked era. He had a red cape and everything, but that's why it wasn't, the Destroyer armor or whatever. Andre, ended up creating the outfit, and that's what it. Ended up being, but that's why the makeup's different. That's why I had red eyes, the red contacts, and I put the blonde in my hair because I wanted it to be for the average fan. If you saw a picture of Gene Simmons or you saw the picture of the WCW Demon, you didn't think they were synonymous.
Right.
Oh, the blonde hair, the guy with the blonde streaks, that's the wrestler.
Totally.
And so that's why we did it. But the problem is, doing that so many times, my hair was breaking, and I'm like, I just can't keep doing this. So I'm like, I got rid of it.
Well, I definitely got to get the variant. So you got to buy over. I'm just looking at this. This is the first time I really appreciate the thing. It's got the crotch piece. It's got
the crotch piece. I used it to make this custom because it's like a separate plastic.
Yeah,
it's pretty unreal. Yeah,
this is like light years better than any other FTC wrestling figure. You can tell the U.S. of influence.
He's got the personal hookup. Yeah,
it's incredible.
Cool.
I love it.
Do you mind telling everyone about the variants that you've made that you told us about, like
which
with the
ones?
carding and stuff?
Oh yeah. I would point up to them. I'd probably grab them, but so what I did different variants for packaging. Like an old school WCW one. There is a Kiss one that I did for one of the Kiss shows. There's a Spooky Empire one that is a black packaging, and they're numbered. I think
very smart. Very smart.
Yeah, 1 to 200. I'm doing a baseball fantasy camp coming up soon, so I did one for that. I only did 25 of those.
That's
and
pretty cool.
There's 2 guys that have all of them. And there's only 2 guys out there that have every one that I've done.
Completist, we call it in the biz.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, just a couple of them. But yeah, I think the variants are fun.
Oh, it's absolutely fun. And the collectors love the limited edition thing. We're all about limited edition and numbering and stuff like that because it's cool to get something that everyone can get, but it's even cooler to get something that not everybody can get.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's just I like it. It's fun, and people. I didn't realize how important it was to people. Were going through them, going, "Where's number 1? Do you have the lowest numbers?" I didn't realize how big it was.
Oh, totally.
So then I started. We started with 200. For Spooky Empire, and then like I did a Cruise Fest. We did one it was a Kiss related event, Cruise Fest. So there was only 50 of those made. And the funny thing is, I was doing a podcast, and it was behind me, and it was number 1. I kept number 1, and a guy goes, I have all of them so far except the Cruise Fest one. He goes, "Would you sell it to me?" And I said, "Absolutely. I don't care." Yeah, and so I ended up selling it to him.
That's awesome, actually.
You got to make another variant that has the blood coming out of your mouth that's all over mine and Brian's gear. From,
I got it out.
Mine, it keeps fading every time in the wash. I keep putting like the stain remover on it. It's almost, I think, one more
really?
wash, I'll get it.
I think because I went after mine that night, like all the big spots, pretty good, and then at home in the wash, it's kind of gone.
Mine is my entrance jacket that never even made it into the ring, so I don't know if it got I don't know how it got blood on it, but it got blood.
I had to lay the backstory here a little bit. Thrill of a lifetime to be on pay-per-view in the ring with the Kiss Demon in 2021.
Oh,
Not something I thought was ever going to happen to me. And then at some point in the match, I was just like, I remember I went did a grippy of my hand, and it was so sticky, and I saw that it was that blood all over, that the Kiss Demon blood or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this stuff's way stickier than I ever imagined. And you're out there and your adrenaline's flowing and you're performing, whatever. And then we get to the back and I just looked down and my gear was just covered in this stuff. And it was my brand new gear. It's my first time wearing it. That we're making an action figure of ourselves in this gear, and I'm just like, oh my God, I hope this comes out. I gotta ask you.
And I had to tell you, that was, when I said, I felt bad. I'm like, oh my God, because what happened is that's actually Gene's blood, okay, that he uses. He went
to his house, got a transfusion, then headed to Bound for Glory.
Yeah. So, I was at, the show in West Palm Beach, maybe a week or so before, we went out to Vegas, and Gene's bass tech gave me some of it because I said, hey, what does he use? And he goes, how much do you need? I'm like, just a little bit. And so he gave me some of the same stuff he uses. But in the bottle, it looked really sticky. So when, we're standing there getting ready to go, I put the whole thing upside down and it poured into my mouth. It almost choked me. That if you watch the video, I was going to wait until I got down the ramp farther to do it. It was choking me because I couldn't breathe because I had so much in there that's why I let it out right away. It ended up with it all over it. I was like,
that's probably is on the ramp, and I threw my jacket down on the ramp. That's what happened.
Oh, wow.
Whatever. It adds to it. What's that blood? That's not my blood. It's the demon blood. The demon blood.
And it's Gene's actual blood. So just put it on eBay and
don't tell Broski that. He'll be sold tonight. He's carny as hell.
Oh, shut up, Brian. You're carny too.
Dale, you rule. You literally are everything we love of the show. That was super fun story. The collectability, all that stuff. That's right up our alley. We knew you would be the perfect guest, so we appreciate you doing this. It was so awesome.
I love someone who appreciates their stuff and puts their stuff on display and keeps it. The people who don't collect their stuff, even. We know people who throw out their stuff or don't buy their action figure. How do you not own your own action figure? You know what I'm saying? I don't get it.
I have almost everything. There's a few pieces that are gone. The coffin's gone. Somehow that 1,000-pound coffin disappeared, and my backup cape, the one that the variant cape, the silver one, was in there. So that's gone. Oh. So it's somewhere.
How does a coffin disappear?
In the WCW era, obviously, or when it was sold, do you think?
Well, I don't know what happened. This is something for you guys, and when they were going through and doing that show, that WWE Treasures thing,
right?
I'm wondering if it did end up, in the warehouse, the coffin.
Maybe.
I'd love to know because it was in the coffin.
We can make a few texts and get an answer on that pretty quickly, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could, I would love to know if the cape or the coffin is there because it used to travel in a U-Haul. And when WCW was sold, no one knew where it went. So, it's like, okay. And then Gene wanted the other cape. So Gene has the main cape that I sent. So the cape that you guys saw as a replica, but those two capes are gone. I wish I had one, that the backup one. I wish that was still around somewhere. Wow. But most what I wrestled in, the boots that I wrestled in, those were the originals from 1999.
Hell yeah!
It was Brian and I both had the same size foot, so Brian and I wore those boots. Both of us wore those boots.
Oh, cool.
The shin guards were a WCW original. The cod piece was the backup. I wore that one time in the graveyard match because we ended up wrestling in the water. But most everything I've tried, I have a pair of the pants back there that are framed that were kind of falling apart because of, all the years of spit in the blood and all that.
Yeah.
So, but I tried to, I've tried to keep as much as I possibly can. I have the original cod piece and, all that. And Sandra, you guys know Sandra.
Of course,
Sandra,
she rules.
almost
Sweetheart.
all of it.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Sandra
So
Gray, legend.
this makes me think if you're such a big collector sort of your stuff, we collect a lot of non-wrestling things. I would assume maybe do you have a big Kiss collection or?
Yeah. If you looked in the desk in front of me, I have one of Gene's axe bases. Right here, I've got Peter Chris, who's a friend, and he and his wife Gigi are friends of ours, and so he gave me this drum head and the drumsticks over here.
Wow.
I've got 43 signed guitars.
Jesus.
Wow.
So,
Oh my
and then
God.
I've got Eric Singer. I've got Alter Bridge. I've got their gold record because Alter Bridge are really good friends of mine. They used to be
On this day,
Yeah. Well, that's how that came because I introduced Adam to Mark Tremonti.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, did
Yeah,
we just
him
become
to-
best friends?
You want to go do karate?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go do karate upstairs. Oh my God, you rule, man.
Yeah. So that's how Alter Bridge thing came about too.
Oh wow.
So
I remember
I
that-
actually got on Adam's one of his DVDs. There's a song called "Ghosts of Days Gone By."
Yes.
At the end of it.
That's how it
that
ends. Yeah.
That's how I suggest. I'm like, that's the perfect song I think to end that whole thing, and that's what they did.
Oh my God.
Wow.
See, a lot of behind the scenes stuff,
This is fantastic, man. Thank you.
We came here for a prototype figure, and we get all this great gossip. I love it. Our fans are gonna love this.
You introduced me to Joe McEwing, and I'm gonna have to move in with you. That's it.
Oh, I forgot about that. We'll get on with him. You let me know anytime. Joe is such a good guy.
Yeah,
Super
he's
Joe
my childhood baseball hero, basically. Him and Mike Piazza. So
Oh my God. Yeah. And Piazza's a big music fan.
big
and-
metalhead. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Big time.
The only
Well,
downfall of this whole interview is you name dropped all these famous members of Kiss and all these baseball players, and Mark and I are gonna have to explain who they are to Broski when we hang out.
Well, listen.
You know what's funny? Didn't you do the Toy Hunter?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
See, I love that show.
Yeah.
We love that show,
I
yeah.
remember, because I love seeing all that stuff.
That show was ahead of its time because now we're in this like renaissance of vintage toys and action figures and stuff like right now. And that show is 8 years old, 7 years old. So I think
Yeah.
it just was a little bit ahead of its time before the boom that we're living in. I think it
Well,
would have been.
can we go do that? All of
You want
us
to go on a toy hunt? We'll take you on any kind of toy
Oh,
hunt, man.
yeah.
We'd love it.
You know,
Don't
you can start- you can
tempt us
start
with a good time.
Yeah.
come start at my house with the MVP, and we can go find all the old school wrestling stuff. The
Wow, that's a great idea, Mark. You get the camera ready? Let's go,
Let's do it.
baby.
Let's do it.
You have a freaking deal, my friend.
We're gonna hold you up to that offer. And
Absolutely.
I told Dale, we'll have you on for like 20 minutes. We kept him on for an hour, so I'm sorry,
Sorry,
but we're just
interesting
shooting
guy.
the shit. I mean, we got the demon right here, the real
we're working
demon.
out for the demon, dude. We love it, man. Thanks for doing this.
No problem. And I'll be honest with you, because I've been watching you guys, all this time while I've been doing the baseball stuff. I tried as much as I could to watch the different shows. When you're traveling, it's sometimes tough. But I've enjoyed that and watching you guys do the unboxings, and because I'm like, these guys they love the same stuff that I love.
Sure.
So I'm like, these guys are pretty cool. And I followed you so that when we got a chance to do something in the ring, obviously Swinger and I have known each other. Literally, he was one of the first people that I met. He did the tryout match for me, and just
He's a good
to
dude.
have it come kind of full circle for me was huge, but to have you two, I laugh because Matt, you at one point I heard you yell, "Demon, help me!"
I I'm jealous because Brian has this nice like Rock Hogan-esque stare down photo with you, and the only photo I can find is like looks like you're giving me a noogie or something. It's like a weird headlock. It's like that Rick Rude Hasbro with the headlock and the punches. I'm like, oh man.
Plus, we've gotten spoiled at Impact. Like when Broski and I broke in, we were like little guys, but now somehow we're like kind of big guys in wrestling. And then you come along, and we're like, okay, back to little guys here.
Yeah.
I did notice a change.
It's crazy, right?
Because I was just talking to somebody about this in the business. Reno, Rick Cornell, who was at the show.
Yeah, that was wild
too. Lives in Vegas, and we were talking. I said, when people used to ask me about WCW, I said, I was at 6'6", at 260. I was average. I mean, if that, I felt like I'm like,
crazy.
Oh my gosh, when you had, Brian Adams, Brian Clark,
man,
Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and Hogan and, Big Show, Giant at the time. Right. I mean, I was average. Just really kind of it was weird kind of seeing this shift a little bit.
If you broke in today, you'd be world champion material without even no question.
Yeah.
No, they'd still hate me.
You're getting that Braun Strowman push, throwing cars around and shit.
Jesus.
Yeah. Dale, thank you so much, man. You gave us an hour of your time. You didn't have to do that. You're just the coolest guy ever.
And we're definitely going to hold you up to that offer to come do a little tour of the office.
We're vlogging with the Kiss Demon. Let's
and we're all going to wear the makeup, I think, too.
Let's do it.
Probably had makeup on you, after too, because
no, I wasn't even worried. The blood scared me. I wasn't worried about the makeup. Yeah.
That was all good. And
thanks, man.
Guys, man. I had fun doing this. I had fun with you guys out in Vegas, and you guys kind of accepting, here I come after all these years and accepting me in and, allowing me to do that with you guys. It was a blast, and I appreciate, all of this, and hopefully we can do more in the future.
Thanks, Dale. I'll privately message you about buying that MVP tour. Thank you very much.
I'll ignore you then.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.